We're at the start of one of the most important trends in cryptocurrency right now. There's a gold rush happening where lots of projects are entering in the space right now trying to solve one of the biggest problems that plagues the crypto industry today. And this is heating up into some crazy competition and actually an all-out war. I'm going to talk about why you need to understand it today in this video because it's going to affect lots of different projects. It's going to have a big impact on who the winners are and who fails. I'm going to explain all this in the video today as a blockchain developer who works with this technology on a daily basis and also a cryptocurrency investor myself. So before we get into that, if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to become a blockchain master step-by-step, start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. And last but not least, this is not financial advice. Nothing I'm saying in this video is designed to tell you to buy or sell any cryptocurrency based on this information. And there's lots of scammers down in the comment section below impersonating me. Just don't even acknowledge them. I'll never give you my phone number or ask you to invest with me. So what is this big trend in crypto that you need to care about? Well, it's blockchain scaling, particularly for the Ethereum platform where a vast majority of all the transactions and DeFi and NFTs are happening right now. And we're at a critical point in time, I believe actually an inflection point where we're starting to see these solutions really roll out in full force. And as this trend starts to go up and we see the adoption of this technology take off, and it's likely going to have a big impact on which projects succeed and which projects don't, or at least underperform the ones that are very successful. Because right now what we're seeing is a variety of layer 2 scaling solutions for the Ethereum protocol coming out, and they're all fighting over pieces of the exact same pie, which means that they're trying to capture a majority of the market share for other applications to build on top of them. And it also presents a difficult decisions for projects that are out there in the wild right now that might have cryptocurrencies associated with them. Which scaling solutions do they want to support? And there's a lot of pressure to pick the right thing here. So I'm going to break all that down in this video. So just a quick recap in case you're brand new around here. What is layer 2 scaling? Well, I've talked about this a lot on my channel if you've been watching these videos, but just a quick refresher. This is essentially creating a second layer on top of Ethereum right now to solve one of its biggest problems. People talk about Ethereum being too slow, too expensive to use. Of course, we have all this amazing innovation on top of Ethereum, but if you try to go, trade a token on Uniswap, for example, and it's too expensive, you might not even use the technology itself. And for that reason, we've seen lots of other chains pop up like Binance Smart Chain, which is a fork of Ethereum. It's been, faster, cheaper to use, but it basically just changes some settings on Ethereum and compromises decentralization, which is not really the goal here in the long run. So Ethereum's problem is going to be made a lot better by this layer 2 scaling, where essentially you create a second layer on top of Ethereum where you can offload some of the computational resources and then settle the final result on the main chain. So some of the players in the space that are really going for the throat on this are Optimism. I talk about this a lot on my channel. This is one that Uniswap has decided to use for their mainnet launch. There's Arbitrum, which is another solution that's supposed to be launching, I believe today, depending on when this video actually releases. I'm recording it a little bit ahead of time here, but it should be May 28th. And another one is Polygon, which is previously Matic. And of course, we've seen that cryptocurrency price go up like crazy. So both Optimism and Arbitrum are what's called optimistic rollups, where basically they take, some of the computational resources off of the Ethereum chain and then settle them back onto the main chain, like I talked about here a minute ago. And Polygon's positioning themselves to be, a suite of scaling solutions, but they've really started off with their Matic sidechain. And you can see that they're moving towards the other solutions down the road. But let's first talk about that, because a sidechain isn't exactly a layer 2 by my definition. Basically, this is having a second blockchain that runs in parallel to Ethereum, which you can bridge over to, because it doesn't actually derive its security from the Ethereum base chain. That's what layer 2 scaling solution is here. So I just want to clear that up. These other projects are using optimistic rollups based technology, and Matic right now on this side chain is doing something a little bit different. And so right now there's a big war happening right now. Do people want to use side chains? Do they want to use rollup technology? We have optimistic rollups that are hitting the scene really soon, which are going to make it a lot easier for people to move their apps over to a layer 2 scaling solution really quickly. And then over the long term, we're also going to have ZK rollups. Some of those are here already, but it's going to take a lot longer for developers to move their applications over those types of technologies because they require a lot more adaptation for the existing apps in order to migrate to that. It's a lot more friction. And so we're seeing an all-out war heat up here, okay? Because there's a ton of user-side demand for this. We've seen what happens whenever, another chain lets people do yield farming trade tokens for faster and cheaper, like what happened with Binance Smart Chain, what happened with all the explosive activity on top of the Polygon network. And so whenever we see layer 2 scaling solutions come out in full force on Ethereum and really start to capture some of the market share, I think we're going to see the Ethereum network absolutely explode and probably kick off this DeFi summer 2.0 that everybody's been talking about. And so that's going to be great for the end user. That's what they're demanding. But there's this all-out war going on right here for these different solutions to capture the largest part of the pie. And if things play out like I think they will, then we'll likely see only a handful of scaling solutions actually take hold over the long term. And so for this reason, there's a lot of pressure to become one of the winners. And this also presents a problem for application developers. Which solution do they want to use? This can be a make or break decision. So if your application is a DeFi app and it has a token associated with it, and you sort of get in the wrong lane, then that can really affect your project over the long term. Now, for some of these solutions that are not quite as hard to migrate over to, let's say it's really easy to support multiple rollups based paradigms and maybe even deploy to an EVM compatible chain, there are problems with your liquidity in your application being fragmented across different paradigms. So you have another problem is you don't necessarily want to just join 10 different scaling solutions, because part of the thing that makes your app valuable is the amount of liquidity. And if you fragment that across these different layers, then you could spread yourself too thin. And so this is a majorly mission critical decision for these applications to try to figure out where do they want to scale. I think this will largely be dependent on what are other major apps going to do. Like, for example, Uniswap's the most traded on decentralized exchange. Which scaling solution are they going to use? Well, they're using Optimism. This is one of the reasons I've been historically so bullish about Optimism. And conversely, what's going to happen to these sidechain solutions whenever rollups come out in full force? And if rollups gain a lot of traction and become like a new paradigm, then are people going to care as much about sidechain technology? What's going to happen to the token price of that particular cryptocurrency that isn't being used as much anymore? And maybe that's just not the case either. So if all that sounds confusing, that's because it just kind of is. There's so many different dynamics at play here. There's which scaling solution should an app pick, which ones are users going to actually use, how could it affect the cryptocurrency of a sidechain versus the cryptocurrency of a token that's backing a DeFi project, and whether they pick the right scaling solution or not. That's what I mean by there's an all-out war going on right now, and there's a ton of upside potential here to backing the right horse, because again, this layer 2 scaling solution trend is going to be one of the most important ones in crypto right now, because it solves one of the major pain points, which is the bottleneck of blockchain scaling that's been plaguing the industry for years and needs to be solved in order for this technology to achieve mass adoption. And we're starting to see these things roll out in full force, and it's going to provide a ton of long-term value to the end user, but there's a lot of things that are unclear right now on who the winners are going to be based on the reasons I listed out in this video. So what do I personally think is going to happen? Well, I do think that we're probably going to see maybe a handful of scaling solutions really take root over time. Because like I said earlier, you don't really want to see liquidity fragmented across like all these different places in application that makes them less valuable. And I do think there'll be a lot of pressure to just follow what other major applications do. So the fact that Uniswap's made a big bet on Optimism means that it's like social proof. But what is the most important application in this space do? That's going to generate a lot of steam for, new projects. That's going to be a big reason for other new projects to use the same thing. Now, that being said, we've seen the dynamics of this also get affected by people that are first. So, Matic came onto the scene, really rushed to scale Ethereum before rollup technology is really fully out. We saw other DeFi applications, expand over to Matic as well, and it's done really well. Similarly, we have this release date for Arbitrum trying to hit to the market to scale Ethereum really fast and try to be one of the first people to get rollup technology out there as soon as possible. So that could have an impact just being first as well. So there are lots of dynamics in play, but I do think we will see at least one of these front runners get a pretty big market share for this tech over the long term. But one thing that's really important to know is that while we do have some of these short-term solutions like optimistic rollups, we may actually see a shift towards things like ZK rollups over time, which might make, optimistic rollups less of a thing. Now, that being said, let's say that it gains so much adoption that people just stick with something because it's working. Maybe it's not the absolute best technology, but maybe it gains the most network effects and then therefore just has this momentum to becoming the prevailing paradigm. That might happen too. So some of the stuff we just have to actually just wait and see what happens. But those are some of my initial thoughts. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Which layer 2 scaling solution are you most excited about? Which one do you think has the most potential over the short, mid, and also long term? So that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That really helps these videos out so the more people can learn about blockchain. If you're as fascinated with this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? Well, you can go to my YouTube homepage. You can find my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely, I can show you become a blockchain master step-by-step start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. Okay. You don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. And until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.